you want to talk a little bit about this whole money thing, and I know we keep on coming back to money. People probably thinking, why do these guys always talk about money? And the reason is that money is the source of everything, and the price of money is so important in a capitalist economy. It simply cannot be underestimated. And I would like to think of a term, instead of free money, because we've spoken of free money in the past where interest rates are really too low. What free money does is it spawns what I would like to call bad money. Now, bad money is money which actually causes things in the economy to happen in such a way that the effect is really bad on the real economy. So if we coin bad money to say that it's money that's actually gone amok and that's doing something which is totally against what one would imagine money should be doing and why we have money. Because when we think of money as being just a lubricant in the economy and just sort of helping the economy do its thing, bad money is something which is like sand getting in the gears of the economy, so the economy's not working properly anymore. I'd like to start by saying, let's go and have a look. For example, now Donald Trump's been elected, and why was he elected? On what platform was he actually elected? And if you think about it for a while, his thing that was "Make America Great Again," it sounds glib and silly, but when you get to the bottom of it, what we're talking about is dealing with the consequences of bad money. Yeah. America has become ungreat and gone down the toilet because of bad money. It's gone down the toilet because the financial system and the money system has allowed the entire manufacturing base of America to be hollowed out and for companies to offshore everything at the expense of America. And that is because the financial system has allowed that. Companies have been rewarded. They have been allowed to take all of their product manufacture offshore, and they have been allowed to manufacture their products at a greatly reduced cost as a result of that, which we are told is a good thing. But they have then been allowed to sell those very same products back into a market where they have not been forced to sell those products into that market at a much lower price. They have taken American prices, they have outsourced all of the labor and everything to Thailand and China and so on. They have then brought all the products back into America manufactured, and they're selling them into the American market at American prices. And they are pocketing the profit, the difference between the price they are selling it for in America and the price that they are having to pay to get it made in China. And they're being allowed to do that. But all of the American workers, who in the beginning were the ones who were doing the work, who were dictating the American price because of the cost of their labor, have now been ejected from the whole equation. So the American price now is just pure profit for the manufacturers. And as a result, America's ended up being hollowed out. So all of those people who used to be doing all that work in America are no longer employed. That's a very distilled version of a consequence of bad money.
You were telling me the other day that Amazon didn't need to make a profit.
Yeah, now, this is I was leading into this. If you now take today's tech titans, let's take a look at Tesla with cars, Amazon with retail, Facebook with advertising, right? We just take those, Netflix with media. You now have companies, thanks to the free money policies of the American Federal Reserve after the great financial crisis, and when I say that, I mean those companies have got access to very low cost funds. These companies are able to operate business models which 15 years ago would have been totally unthinkable. 15 years ago, any company wanting to operate out there in a commercial environment would have had to turn a profit, because the carry cost of not making a profit becomes very, very large after a short period of time. You have to change your practices. You need to make a profit to stay alive. You cannot run on empty forever. The problem is when you have nearly free money, what that means is the carry cost of gambling is extremely low. It means you can borrow huge amounts of money as a company. It means you can experiment with all sorts of business plans and models, and it doesn't matter if you're not succeeding, because the opportunity cost of not succeeding is very, very low. You can keep on borrowing more and more and more and more money for a much, much longer time because the money is so cheap before you are forced to acknowledge that you've got to make a profit to survive. So, Amazon, for example, can run a retail operation where their actual business is not making money. They are borrowing money in order to keep going. The same goes for Netflix. The same goes for Facebook. The business model is, because there is bad money, they are able to basically operate at a loss forever. Now, if you are allowed to do that, you can imagine that your business model and your MO then becomes, we are going to basically cannibalize everybody. We are going to take over the world, because all of those little guys who don't have access to the free money, they can't operate like we operate. If they don't make a profit, they can't pay their employees, they can't pay their rent, they can't operate without making a profit. Therefore, their prices need to be realistic. They get driven out of business because their prices cannot compete with the prices of companies where the companies that those big, the prices that those big companies are setting is not based on a realistic, this is the amount of money I need to run my business model. Their prices are based on, we are getting almost free money, and we've been getting it for so long that even though we are running at a loss, we can stay solvent.
But you discuss share prices.
I can see the very next question that people are asking was, how the hell can you run at a loss forever? Well, I'll tell you how you run at a loss forever. What you do is your debt keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And as long as you can service that debt, it can keep going up. And it can keep going up for two reasons. First of all, you are borrowing money at very, very low interest rates. The second thing is, you no longer rely on the banking system and the interest rates that the banks are going to charge you in order to fund your operations. What you're doing is you're going direct to the markets. You are issuing shares. All you need to do to convince the market to give you the money when you want to issue the shares is to have a rising share price. So if your share price is going up, every single time you issue shares, you get subscribers. They buy those shares. The share price goes up a bit more. You're getting low on money. You issue more shares. They buy those shares. Because the capital gain is there. The investors are happy to give you the money to buy the shares so that they can then sell the shares and make a profit on those shares. How is it that the share price keeps going up in a company that's losing money, that has a business model that's going to continue to lose money, that's burning through cash at the rate that Netflix, for example, burns through cash? 5 billion a year losses. Tesla makes a $5,000 loss on every single car they sell. How can their share price be going up? Because what the executives of the companies are doing is they are borrowing money and they are buying their own shares back in the market with that money. And then when they buy those shares back with the money, they cancel the shares. And in cancelling the shares, what they do is they create an artificial situation where the fact that there are now less shares means that the remaining shares go up in price a little bit. And because the remaining shares have gone up in price a bit, investors want those shares. So they then issue shares to raise some more money. And then they use that money to fund their operations, even though they're running at a loss. And meanwhile, they're killing all the real economy and everyone's losing their jobs because these guys are running at a loss. They've got lost leaders all the time. They don't have to compete in the same world. And then when they need more money, what they do is they turn around and they issue some more shares. It's just a merry-go-round that just keeps on going around. And what keeps on happening is that all of this debt that keeps on mounting up in the company's books is kept off balance sheet. The authorities have allowed it so that the debt is actually not a big liability because it's not costing the company much, because interest rates are so low. So the debt sits there off the balance sheet. It goes up and up and up and up and up and up, but no one worries about the debt because actually it's serviceable, because every time they have a bill due, they just issue a bit more debt and they pay the bill with it, and the debt goes up a bit more, and they issue some more debt and it goes up a bit more. The whole thing is funded with increasing debt. If people paid attention to the debt, they would be horrified. If interest rates go up, these companies are dead. So the situation we have at the moment is completely and utterly artificial, but the problem is it's killing the real economy. The problem is it is hollowing out real jobs, real middle class, real capitalist signals are being killed by the fact that there's no price signaling going on in the economy anymore. And this is the consequence of very low interest rates and just money printing, because that's bad money. That's money being used destructively to kill the real economy. And we have a situation now where the central banks of the world have got themselves in a real bind, because we're 10 years in now to this bad money experiment. 10 years in. And they cannot wean these companies off this bad money, because as soon as interest rates start going up, as Warren Buffett once famously said, when the water goes out or the tide goes out, that's when you see who's got no clothes on.